Flying boats. They are some of the oldest aircraft before airports and runways were commonplace. There were flying boats and seaplanes. Because where there wasn't a runway, you could find a lake, a river, or an ocean to land in. I've always wanted a waterborne airplane of my own, and although I have the Sport Cub with floats, I wanted something that I built, so I decided to build this thing. But how did I get to this design, and why did it maybe not work all that well? Stay tuned to find out. First off, this is not a seaplane, it is a flying boat. To put it simply, seaplanes are like normal planes, but with extra floaties or pontoons. While flying boats, the quote-unquote floats are integrated into the hull, or fuselage, of the airplane. So I decided I wanted to make a flying boat, which in hindsight was a bad idea. More on that later. But I wanted a 1930s era look to it, so I made this classic looking fuselage, tail, and wing structure. The whole airplane was very solid, although the tail was quite floppy, and after a few flights was wiggling around, but it worked, so I never fixed it. After I built the main part of the craft with no waterproofing added, I took it to make sure it would actually fly. After finding out my prototype does actually fly, I went ahead and waterproofed the hull of the airplane. I only waterproofed the main hull and a little bit above to try and save weight, as my foam is not waterproof and I used duct tape to make sure it was water resistant. Once again, bad idea. More on that later. So I put it in my pool to ensure it floated, and then went back to make the little floaty extensions.
Sits a little low in the water. Gonna try and make some pontoons to lift it up and push the nose down just a little bit, so we'll see how that goes.
And tested it once again to see how it floated. And it actually sat in the water perfectly and was very stable. Well, with the testing out of the way, it was time for the final mission, the water flight. This is where the issues with the design became quickly apparent. I woke up early in the morning to beat the wind, and luckily no one else was at the boat launch and the weather was absolutely perfect. Needless to say, I was nervous. Flying a plane I've only flown a handful of times, and trying it over water was a new kind of risk. So once all the pre-flight checks were done, I put it in the water, powered up, and oh yeah. Here's the first issue, which is something I knew about and just hoped would work out. Flying boats are complicated, and they have very specific margins and hull shapes to be able to lift off the water. My plane had a step and was relatively hydrodynamic, but it wasn't enough. The combination of the high mountain motor and not enough nose flotation made it dig in, and the craft couldn't get on plane for takeoff. But if it can't take off and it floats, then I can still land it. So I elected to hand launch it and attempt to land in the water, since a waterborne takeoff was proven impossible. Flying over the water was fun, but the impending landing was looming ahead. I flew low and actually made a fish jump out of the water. Well, this was it. It was do or die. Or I guess in this case I would just have to wake up early again and try this another day. But that's besides the point. So I lined myself up, slowed down, but kept enough speed to have good control, and let it sink down till contact. And boom! There you go, ladies and gentlemen. The first DIY airplane I've ever made that has operated off of water. Although it didn't take off, but not much I can do there. But anyways, I still count this as a success. Here's where the other problem came up. The bad hull design made the plane splash a lot of water up onto all the parts that I did not waterproof, like the wings and the tail surface. So I laid the plane out to dry the best I could, but water also managed to get past the tape and into the main structural part of the airplane, where the struts connect, and it is now basically trash. So unfortunately, I cannot use this airframe for anything anymore, which means I can't take my lessons and improve on this specific plane, but I might make a seaplane, a plane with floats, which will not only be simpler and easier to make, but it should have much better hydrodynamics and will be able to take off and land many times over. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, comment, share, and or subscribe to help support my channel. And thank you very much for watching.